to jump straight into it. The aim of this video is to create awareness about an illness that I got following the birth of my child, and also to help any woman going through this at the moment. I remember when I was ill, I was looking through videos on YouTube and I couldn't find that much on here. So if you are suffering with the same illness, then hi, and you'll be fine. You will be fine. Go fight. A bit of background story. I give birth to a beautiful, lovely baby boy 6.5 months ago in April. I was so happy being pregnant. I was so ready to be a mum. I had read everything in the book. I knew everything about childbirth. I researched a little bit about the illness I got before I had the baby, but limited knowledge on it. So the illness I contracted after Howell was born, my baby boy's called Howell, after Howell was born, is an illness called postpartum psychosis and postnatal depression. Now, postnatal depression, a lot of awareness has been created around that, which is really good. What's less known is the postpartum psychosis. Labour for me was okay. I got through it. It was hard, but I got through it. And me and my partner, we really did connect when I was in labour. He was so supportive, and it went basically fine. I was discharged from hospital day after Howell was born, and I was absolutely fine, happy to go home. Obviously really tired and still recovering from the birth, but completely myself. I felt myself. However, the next day I sort of began to change. My family say that I was speaking 100 miles per hour and I wanted to throw a party. I was really more sociable than I naturally am. I was speaking 100 miles per hour, and I was basically manic, and I was going through a high. So one of the symptoms of postpartum psychosis is that you have really big highs, and like bipolar, you dip then to have really big lows. So I was on a high, and I later didn't sleep for about 5 days. So I was a real big high. So that's the first thing my family started to notice, but they weren't aware of the illness either. I was trying to breastfeed, so that my aim when I was pregnant was, I'm going to breastfeed. It's going to be so easy. It is so hard to breastfeed. I just thought it would be latch them on and it'd be fine, is natural. You'll know what to do when you're there. And I don't. You need to learn tips on breastfeed, and you need to get taught breastfeeding, and I didn't realise this. It's a lot of skills to breastfeeding that I didn't know about, and unfortunately I developed mastitis in my breasts, and they were very engorged as well, and I had a hungry baby on my hands. My midwife saw that I was in pain, and I was crying. I was laughing in 1 second and then crying the next minute. And she looked at me and she said, "Do you need support?" And I said, "Yeah, I need help." My son was hungry, and I needed to know what I was doing with regards to breastfeeding, because I really, really wanted to breastfeed. So she invited me and my partner to stay at the birthing centre overnight, and so the midwives can help me breastfeed, and they were beautiful women, a fantastic service they provided, and they saved my life, basically, because my mental health was really starting to deteriorate. I was starting to see things. So a symptom of psychosis is that you see things and you hear things and you believe things that aren't real. And I was starting to see my baby beaten up, bruises all over his face. I started to see him really distorted, and he looked dead sometimes. And it is dark, and it's really painful to talk about because the images were so vivid. They'd only happen like a flash with me, corner of your eye sort of thing. It wouldn't last long, but enough to freak me out, you know. And in the birthing centre, there were obviously posters of babies on the walls, and they looked beaten up, and they looked like their eyes were blackened. I believe they were talking to me, saying that they hated me and that I was a horrible person. And I was hearing things like my name being whispered all the time. And I thought one of the nurses in the birthing centre said, "Oh, this room is a pigsty." Obviously, she didn't say that. I just completely thought that's what she said, and people were talking in gibberish as well, so people were speaking, and I couldn't believe it, but it sounded like gibberish. It sounded like they were going blah 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 blah, and it's really scary. It's really scary. I didn't know what was happening, and I sort of decided to block them out at first. I was sort of saying, I'm sleep deprived, could be the reason. I just thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, and I didn't tell anyone about it at the start. So me and my partner were in the birthing centre. He started to notice that I wasn't right. So he told the midwives, and I was starting to get the lows, and I was becoming severely suicidal. I left a note to the midwife saying that I had given up. I put my clothes on, I packed my stuff, I put a full face of makeup on, and I was going to go. Luckily, they didn't let me leave. So I'd gone from being the happiest woman in the world a week ago to a week later being severely suicidal. So the midwives would not let me leave the birthing centre. They said that they wanted me to see the mental health team and to get assessed. I'd never been assessed for anything like that before. I've only had depression. I had depression in the past, and I know there are women in my family who suffered depression, but I'd never had to see a psychiatrist at all. So it was really scary. And that's when I started saying that I was seeing things and hearing things. The fortunate thing about this illness when it happened to me at this specific time was that a psychiatric nurse told me that I had insight. There was a tiny weeny part of me that had the insight to know that what I was seeing, hearing and believing were not real. Which is very fortunate that I wasn't 100% delusional. I had to be transported to a psychiatric ward without my son and my partner. And I spent 4 days in a psychiatric ward, and by this time I was starting to believe that he had died, that my son had died, because I didn't see him, and I really truly believed that, and it's really sad because I feel like I was feeling like I was grieving for my son whilst he was alive, but I completely thought he died, and he was here no more, and I thought that he died because of me, because I wasn't feeding him. It's really upsetting. And the psychiatric ward, the room I was in was very similar to a jail cell. I was watched 24/7 for my own safety by a member of staff with the door open. So this was 24 hours a day I was observed. I understand why I was observed 24 hours a day, because I was starting to have thoughts of hurting myself and hurting other people. I'm a completely non-violent person. I would never hurt anybody. I was moved to a hospital in London, which is a mother and baby mental health unit. And I was reunited with my baby. I couldn't stay in the same room as him at first. Still believing that he died and the baby in front of me was somebody else's baby. I genuinely believed that that baby was not my baby. I spent 3 months then in a hospital. I was allowed to be with my baby throughout my entire recovery. Basically, the baby is the medicine. The longer I spent with him, the more I started to realise, no, this baby is mine. He's not dead, he's mine. And the staff were so supportive. Beautiful people from all over the world helped me and my son get better. Postpartum psychosis is the biggest killer in women following childbirth. And I was protected by a lot of people. My partner, though, was phenomenal. He visited me every weekend in London. He had to travel from South Wales to London every weekend. I think we counted that he came up 12 times. And he's the only person I trusted throughout it, because another symptom of psychosis is that you don't trust people, even your members of family. And I wasn't trusting anybody, so... But the only one person who didn't change was my partner, and I always trusted him throughout it. Yeah, so at the hospital, there were sessions that I'd go to, so baby massage, sensory group. And so throughout the week I would go to these groups. I received one-on-one therapy with a psychotherapist, 2 psychotherapists. I had a psychiatrist that monitored my medication, which had to be changed to quite a bit because I was getting side effects. I had art therapy as well. Amazing. The level of support that I got was truly amazing, but I had to go 200 miles away to get this support. So I hope this video has been useful. I've been 2 months out of hospital now, 2.5 months out of hospital. I'm doing okay. I'm still in recovery. I've got to take medication for 2 years. But I feel like myself, and I feel most days like myself, and I'm able to function a little bit, and I'm going to groups here as well. So yeah, I'm trying to get better. I'm an ordinary person. This illness could happen to anybody. And I'm just a person who drew the short straw, really. And it's something that has changed my entire world. And I've had to rebuild. I've got to rebuild myself back up to who I was before. I'm very lucky with the level of support I got. All I would ask is that if you know a woman who's recently given birth and you believe that she is at all showing these symptoms, is to talk to her and see how she's feeling, and please don't ignore somebody who's just had a baby if you're thinking, oh, she doesn't seem quite right to me. You will notice, because the illness is so severe. Yeah, so I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you everyone soon. I hope I haven't scared anyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.